Hey, espresso lovers, Mark here from Whole Latte Love. I have a very special guest with me, Tony from Fuego Coffee, right?
That's correct.
And tell me what you do here.
So basically what I'm going to be doing is sharing a coffee with you called the Bear Claw Blend.
And we will be carrying this, or we are carrying this coffee.
Yes.
And tell me a little bit about the coffee.
It's 70% Brazil and 30% Ethiopia. It's a coffee that's catered towards every person, whether you're a traditional espresso lover or you love a lot more nuance in your coffee.
And you guys roast this.
Yep.
Right? Okay.
Yep, locally.
And we're going to dial it in on an E37S, and I know you have a couple of these. Tell me about that.
So I have 2 of these in my cafe, and then I have one that I use for catering. Okay. As well, we use a Profitec Pro 700. We use that for catering and weddings as well.
So you're not using the Pro 700 in the cafe?
Oh, no.
What are you using there?
So right now we have an Aurelia 2 by Nova Simonelli.
Okay. Okay. So we're going to go through the process of dialing in, and it's a very common question I get. How come I'm not getting crema, or how come my shot's coming in 10 seconds? And I'm like, you got to dial in your coffee. So you're going to take us how through doing that on an E37S, which you use in the shop with your coffee, which I really like a lot, by the way.
Thank you.
So let's go to it. So I know you've worked with this a little bit to make sure everything's in, and then we threw the grinder out, so you'll take us through the process. So
yeah, definitely.
Go ahead. Let's see how this goes.
So basically how I start to dial in is I think of, what I want to go into the portafilter. So usually I start with 18 grams, and then I will look between 25 and 30 seconds. And then in that time, I want either a yield of 28 to about 36 coming out. So then what I try to do is I try to find out which one tastes round or a balance. So in espresso, you have acidity, bitterness, and sweetness. Each of them have a range of high, medium, low. So what I like to do is make sure that each part of that is in the middle. So that's what I'm going to try to do for you today.
So you're going to weigh everything. You're going to weigh your grind, you're going to weigh your yield, and you're going to go there. Now, we talked just a little bit about time, and that's a place to start, right?
Yeah, contact time is very important.
Okay, and when you time, and again, timing is kind of the basic start, right?
Yeah.
So you want to make sure you're in range. And then, so when you are timing, is it from like water on, or is it from drip?
So with this Profitec Pro 700, what's really cool about it is it actually has a timer on it as you start the shot. So it starts as soon as you pull the lever, and it counts out your time for you. And then you have these Akaya lunar scales where you can actually weigh the shot, and it actually has a timer on it as well.
Okay.
So we're going to start with that.
All right, let's go to it.
Alrighty.
Now, using a double shot, obviously you'd say 18 grams. Do you ever pull singles in the shop?
Not in the shop, no.
The
Most
shop.
of our menu is comprised of, double shots.
Pulling singles in a cafe is kind of rare, right?
Yeah, I mean, some people do it, some people don't. Like, in our Rochester coffee community, most people are doing doubles for the most part. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to show you how I would typically dial in. So basically, I'm going to tear this scale out right here. And then you see I already have it timed for a double shot, which is 4.1. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it on barista mode. And how you do that is you're going to hit the double and the single together until it says manual dose. Then what I'm going to do is try to see where 18 grams is.
I like that. The grinds out of the E37S are nice. Fall really smooth.
So as you can see, I'm not too far off. I'm about 0.8 grams. So I'm going to try to scoop just a little bit of that off and see where we are now.
And how important is it to be consistent with that weight?
This scale is pretty accurate. So most scales will only tell you if it's 18, 18.5, or 19, where this is pretty accurate. So I feel pretty comfortable using 18.2. So we're going to try that.
0.2 of a gram.
Yeah.
That's close enough.
Yeah, for me it is. I mean, in the grinder that we use in our shop, as well as the espresso machine, it's usually right on par. So
cool.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this right here. I'm going to take my level, and I'm going to put that in there, and I'm just going to give that 3 spins. And
now you tamp after leveling. I know.
Yeah.
I don't. Yeah. Some do. Some don't.
Yeah.
Do you like to?
I do. It's just the way that I was taught, and it's always worked for me.
Sure. If something's working, don't change.
That's right. Don't fix it if it's not broken.
So we weighed the coffee. Now we're going to weigh the yield as well.
Yep.
So we got the scale up there.
I like these glasses by Not Neutral. All right, I'm going to start, and let's see what happens. All right, as we can see, we have messed up this grinder a little bit just to make sure that it goes fast. So you can see in about 12 seconds, you get to 30 grams or 30 milliliters. So if you taste that shot, I don't think it's going to taste pretty good.
Much too fast.
Yeah, much too fast. So what we're going to do is we're going to adjust the particle size. We have the worm gear adjustment right here.
Taylor calls that the quick set.
Yep.
It uses a worm gear.
Yep. So what I'm going to do, and excuse me, every single time I do this, I get confused a little bit. So we're going to turn it counterclockwise to make it go finer. So
are you just sort of guessing here as to how far to go, or?
So I actually took measurements beforehand, so I know where to go.
Okay.
So that's what I'm trying to do, is go back to where my adjustment was when I was just dialing in the coffee.
Okay.
But typically, if it's running that fast, you want to make a major adjustment. But if it's somewhat in range, you can make minor.
Very minor?
Yeah, very minor. So I'm going to go to, let's just say 1.6 here.
And now you like this setup. Now I know you've used other grinders that don't have that sort of adjustment, that worm gear. What is it that you like about that?
I like that it's very, very accessible, and you don't have to like turn any knobs or anything like that, and just move the hopper. So for this one, it's just making that adjustment with the worm gear adjustment. Okay. Nice. So I am gonna get something to purge this grinder, and usually I like to do about 6 seconds.
So this is just to get the old grind out.
Yeah. Yep. The old grind out.
Now is that you do that purge in the shop if you're doing that too? Because I know a lot of times people make a comment like, "Wow, you're going through a lot of coffee there."
I mean, I do because when we're working with coffees, and we want our shots to be really, really good.
Right.
So
that's how you get there.
Yeah.
Right?
And after a while, you get better and you get faster, and you don't use as much coffee. And especially if you have a certain bean, like if we have our Bear Claw blend, we typically know what range it's in and how we want to start.
Sure.
So.
Okay. And again, the Bear Claw blend, that's right there, and we have that available now. Tony made me a shot earlier, and I really, really enjoyed it. So you're just going manual there, and through experience, knowing about where to stop.
Yeah. Like I said, I like to start around 18 grams. Let's try there.
Okay.
Leveler.
And that's the jack leveler you're using. We have that available in that wood like that, and many other different designs, to suit your taste.
That's actually really nice. I've never actually used that leveler before.
You like that?
Oh yeah, it's nice. All right, put this in. And let's see where we end up here. Tear this. And here we go. So we're looking, like I said, anywhere between a yield of like 30 to 36 in about 25 to 30 seconds.
So you're at a 1 to 2 or just a little under that as a brew ratio?
Yeah. So basically, hold on 1 second. So in about 25 seconds, about 36 to 37 yield. So I think it's a great parameter to start with. As you can see, it has a nice crema. We see tiger striping that's on top of it. And then basically what we look for is balance, or roundness, however you want to say it. So that's what we look for in our coffee. So I'm going to try it and see where we're at.
I'm guessing you know this coffee well, so you know when it's right.
Yeah. Totally delicious. I think it's a really, really good approachable coffee for any traditional espresso lover, as well as the people that like a lot of nuances within it.
Now you're going to hang out for a couple minutes at least, right? We're going to do some frothing with Tony in a moment coming up in a next segment. But we are taking questions, so if you have any questions at all, use those comments, and Tony, you'll answer those questions about
Yes.
dialing in, or maybe your coffee
Yep.
or anything right now. So we'll look to see if we have any of those. I did want to ask you, so when you're extracting a shot, are you visually looking at
yeah.
the shot as it comes?
Oh,
And what
yeah.
are you looking for there?
I mean, if you look at basically, there's certain visual cues that you see. One is the blonding process at the end of the shot. You know, when I was trained, you know, without using scales and anything like that, you know, you would typically just use contact time, which is, you know, how much time the shot is brewing for, but also what the visualization of the shot looks like. Like,
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, and so, and that one came out, it was like a 1-to-2 ratio,
Yeah, 1 to
right?
2,
So
yep.
about 36 grams out, 18
Yep.
grams in. That's pretty typical of what you're doing?
Yep.
Okay. And tell us again about the coffee, about the Bear Claw.
So the Bear Claw is 70% Brazil, 30% Ethiopia. Like I said, as a cappuccino, it tastes like you know, a Tootsie Roll. It's pretty tasty.
Okay, so we did have a question?
Yes, we just got one
Okay,
in.
Amanda's over there with our questions.
We've got Squib Cakes asking,
Okay.
how long does a single shot take to extract?
Huh?
Well-
I've always worked on the assumption it should take the same amount of time. Now, you
Yeah,
don't do a lot of singles, you were telling me, though.
So yeah, we usually don't do singles. I wasn't even trained when I was a baby barista on singles. Everything was doubles, especially like, you know, you would split the shot and then you would use the shot that you were using for a cappuccino or a latte. And basically in the shop that I worked at, you would save that shot and chill it for like, you know, drinks like, you know, if you were making like a frozen beverage and stuff. I come from a second wave sort of like coffee shop where you're making sort of like frappuccinos and stuff. So you would typically use that. But I would say what I've read about, from anywhere from like 14 seconds, I believe, is what I thought, or 7 to 14 grams is what you would dose in. And then I think you would just have that within 25 to 30 seconds.
So it's kind of the same timing
Yeah,
as you would
yeah.
for a double. That's my understanding
Yeah.
as well. But I'll be honest, I may have pulled a handful of singles in the last 4 or 5 years. It's really not that tough. And they're much more temperamental,
Yeah,
too.
they're very, very tricky to do. It's hard to really, for me anyways, I always had problems with those baskets, you know, just like being able to tamp correctly.
Yeah. I mean, have a friend and share,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So again, the coffee again is
Bear Claw.
Bear Claw. Really like that a lot.
Yep.
And you're using the E37S.
Yep. One of
in
the
the shop.
one of the things I didn't mention about the
Sure.
E37S is actually I had it on manual, but basically what you can do is actually dial it into where you are, you know, getting the same amount of coffee each time.
Yeah, I have done testing with
yeah,
this, and
yeah.
it's very accurate in the timed grinding. It's got to have something to do with those really big, the 83 millimeter burrs in there. And oh, you were telling me a story earlier about an older Chiato you had. Tell me about that.
So I don't remember. Actually, it's been a long time since I've had it, actually. So I've had it since like 2013, but it's one of those manual doser grinders. I think it's an E37, no, E7. Yeah, an E7.
The actual.
Yeah, so I used that in my shop in the beginning, and basically we went like 6 years without changing that, the burrs on there, and it's been pretty decent. But I just noticed recently that I might need to change the burrs, so I did, and this thing is still working like a dream today.
And that's the thing when you get to this level of grinder. I mean, you can expect in a home situation, a lot of people do buy these for homes, that you're going to get decades of service out of this compared to the more appliance-y type plasticky grinders, right? So
this is a very durable grinder. Yeah, I stand by this grinder as a barista and as a shop owner for sure.
And the Pro 700 that we have over here. So you use this for events.
Yep.
Not in the shop, but for events. And tell me, how do you feel about the Pro 700? I know, I mean, one of the things I really like is it's really got, for this type of machine, the best steaming power you can get with
definitely.
2 bars in the boiler.
Yep. So yeah, I really enjoy it. I'm hired out for weddings and also catering events, and it does very, very well. Its recovery time is not bad at all.
And you can do a lot on it.
So if you're a home user and stuff, I mean, here's the thing. You're never going to go wrong with this machine. I would recommend it 10 out of 10 times.
All right, we got another question. Amanda?
Hi, yes, we actually have 2 questions. We'll start with Hector.
Okay.
Hector's asking, does the coffee touch the shower head?
It shouldn't.
It should not, no.
If it is, you need a bigger basket.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Let's take a look, see what happened. Did we leave an impression? No.
No impression.
No impression. So you do want a space between the, your coffee. When you pull it out, you should not see an impression of your shower screen at all. If so, you need to get a bigger basket if you're using more coffee. And we certainly have those available. We have right up to triple shot. We have the Barista Pro baskets, the Nanotech ones, up to 22-gram dosing sort of size. So you do triples there. So, and another question?
Yes, we do. This one's from Ernest asking about baskets. How do you check the best amount of coffee to use? And they're also asking, should it touch the screen?
Same story, right?
Yeah, for me, I always start with 18-gram baskets. I really, that's always a good starting point for me. And it doesn't touch the screen at all. So.
Yeah, and a lot of times the original basket with a machine might be a little bit smaller, but I think most of them are coming now that can usually take around that 17-gram level. But but the typical shots you're doing are 18.
Yeah.
I've seen 19 reported as the average barista double being done.
I've gone up to like 21 before actually, and just messed
really?
around with the higher yields and shorter contact times, which it's fun to mess around for sure.
Yeah, but if you are getting an impression,
Yep.
get a bigger basket. We certainly have those available. And I guess unless there's another question.
I believe so.
Okay.
We've got Epke. Don't know if that's pronounced right. Is there any difference if you use a single basket or double basket if you use the same 18 grams inside?
Well,
I think there is a difference.
Yeah.
I mean, because in a single basket, you're not going to be able to fit 18 grams. So typically what I would try to do is cut that in half. So I would use, what's it?
7 to 9?
Yeah, 7 to 9, anywhere is about that. And then, try to have the contact time between 25 and 30 seconds.
I mean, the traditional doses, the traditional Italian doses, and probably if you go to Italy, what you're still going to get is 7 and 14 for single and double.
Yep.
But that's trended, always trending
Yeah.
up. And like you said, you're using 18. Very few people are doing singles. Now, one thing we do have Barista Pro baskets that are engineered so that you can do singles and doubles. So if you get the single basket or a double basket, they're engineered so that you don't have to change the grind at all.
Yep.
The number of holes, the design of the holes is such that you can go between singles and doubles with the same grind.
Yeah.
Pretty cool stuff. Another one?
Yes. Okay. We've got one more here from AA. They're looking for a comparison between the Della Corte Mina and the machine you have there in terms of taste for espresso.
I have actually used a Della Corte in our shop as a commercial machine.
We have one right back here.
Yeah,
We're going to use it in a minute, so hang around.
Yeah, so Della Corte, in the aspect of the commercial use, is an amazing machine. Has all these different boilers on there, and you can control like temperature as well as like flow rate, I believe. So I got to play around with it in my shop, and it was a phenomenal experience. So I'll leave it to the pros to talk a little bit more about the Mina and the Profitec. But like I said, I really enjoy the Profitec that I'm using for catering as well as wedding events. So.
Yeah, we will be. We are going to put you on the Mina and do some frothing.
Oh,
yes,
cool.
so
Okay.
do stick around for that. We had George Howell. If you're familiar with George Howell, he has a Mina at his place in Boston. And George is like one of the first names in specialty coffee. Travels the world looking for the best, and he was very impressed. We do have some videos about that, so do search the channel, and you can hear what George Howell thought about the Mina. But I think one thing that just real quick, we do need to wrap up so we can go on to the next one. Is that it's repeatable.
Yeah.
You can do that flow profiling, and it's repeatable. Now we do have the flow control device on this machine. We didn't use it here, but this is a manual sort of way of doing it. Although you can, we have some videos on how to do that, how to calibrate and find out where you are. But we're going to get into the Mina back here, where you can do repeatable stuff, like a La Marzocco Strata type thing.
Yeah.
Although flow profiling, not pressure profiling.
Yeah.
So. With that, though, I think we should wrap it up here. I do just want to tell you, we're going to be back with Tony. Tony, you're going to do some frothing and pour some art for us, right?
Yeah,
and
definitely.
Maybe give us a few pointers on that.
Yeah, definitely.
And then I also just want to hit, we've got some really cool stuff on our website. what I really want to talk about is the 3D and our augmented reality features. I'm going to give you a quick peek of that. So what you can do, a lot of our products, you can see them, as you can see right there, you can take a look at them in 3D. Now this is, you can do that on a desktop or a mobile device, but you hit that button there, and if you have a compatible device, so some of the iPhones, I think it's 7 and on, and others, you can put a model of a machine right on your countertop. You can walk around it. Check that out. It's not there, but it's there.
That's pretty neat.
And really get a look at what the machine is going to look like in your environment, get size relationships. I mean, it's a lot of fun, but it can be really helpful. And I really think this is the future of of retail online, because if you're not going to go to a physical store and touch it, at least you can see it on your counter, right?
Yeah, definitely.
That's pretty cool. All right, Tony, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
We'll be back with you in a few minutes. So if you're watching us on the live stream, hang around. Tony's going to do some latte art for us. We're going to throw you on the Mina and do that. Thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you right back here really soon for more of the best on everything coffee.